Hey everybody, welcome to Sex is Medicine, your #1 resource for holistic sex education. I am Devi Erickson here with you live this evening for another spectacular episode about sexuality, spirituality, pleasure, and personal growth, and ultimately how we can use mindful, conscious pleasure as a form of medicine, healing, and transformation. My guests this evening are just fabulous, incredible people that I had the great good fortune to meet in February of 2020. And at the Co-Creative Sex event that was hosted in Vancouver, Georgia and Silver. And I had the pleasure of spending some time in person with them and getting to know a little bit about them and the work that they do in the world, and just really observe and witness how they show up individually and in relationship with so much light and so much charm and so much soul. So I wanted to take the opportunity to have a conversation with you and for the benefit of all of our wonderful listeners about the amazing work that you do in the world and the book that you've published, because you're also published authors as well, which is a very exciting thing. So I'm going to invite you, if you're willing to share a little bit about yourself and the work that you do in the world.
It's wonderful to be here with you.
Thanks for having us on the show. Yeah. We're super excited to co-create once more.
Yeah. Such a treat. Yeah, honored. Yeah, our story. Well, we met under a supermoon in a Balinese rice field just under 2 years ago, and we had an incredible collision of love. I think that's the best way to describe it. It was fast and furious. The attraction, the chemistry, the beauty, and the soul connection that was there, that we really embraced. And we dove in, and we dove really, really deep, really fast. And I was coming out of a marriage, and Silver was coming out of I'm not having any more relationships ever again.
I'm done.
Those are interesting vows.
Yeah.
Completely done with the relationship.
Yeah. We weren't even allowed to use the word for a long time.
Wow. Wow. And so what a huge transition now, right? That's huge.
It is. And, that really says a lot about how we play in love. I mean, we really go with what's alive in the moment for us, and how we do go deeper by staying with what's alive, what's present in the field for us in the moment. And so in the first 4 months, we actually wrote 3 books. How many books?
Ooh,
3 books.
Very creative. Wow. So all that sexual energy was birthing tangible artifacts in the world.
Yeah. We started, we continued as we started. We met at a tantric temple night, which was my first experience of a temple night, and
not mine, David.
Just been there, done that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But little did she know then what she was going to get herself into. And I had this wild energy coming through me at that time, and I was just like, can I bite you like an animal? And we were just crawling around the floor, and I was just biting different parts of her body like a wild animal, and that wildness was really coming through. Yeah. And when we did finally get together a few weeks later, it was just this uncontrollable co-creative energy. Yeah. And we really quickly got that we were co-creating every single moment together. Mm-hmm. And then that unlocked the door to these incredible conversations, this really rich dialogue, because both of us were in a place where we did not want to repeat the patterns of the past.
Yeah.
So we entered into this dialogue, and then we're like, hey, this is actually really, really interesting. Maybe we should record this. So we recorded all these deep conversations that we never had with anyone else before, just navigating new waters together. And we had them transcribed into the books. So really raw content from our first 4 months together, which was like 6 lifetimes of of clearing all those past patterns from the generations.
Yeah. And, amidst the magic was actually a lot of upheaval, if we're rigorously honest. One of the things that we really practice is deep truth in our life together, and of what we're experiencing. And in that period of our relationship, or our not relationship, as it were, we were experiencing a lot of past emotional traumas, wounds, loops, things that were coming up that we were met with together, as we do in relationship, and we had met them in previous relationships, and we were tired of them. Yeah. We were done.
Yeah.
And so, over the last year and a half, 2 years, we've been cultivating practices and really bringing about the awareness to carry what we're co-creating in such a way that we can share it with the world. It's really clear that this work needs to be shared with the world. And discovering that, a lot of what we uncovered, so many people suffer and struggle with.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not given healthy modeling for relationship in this culture, because this culture is really rooted in dysfunction, right? And so to have clear modeling of not just how to have healthy relationship, but how to get from unhealthy dynamics to healthy dynamics is so required, so necessary.
Yeah, indeed, it truly is. And, we've been to the boot camp of it for 20 years. So we really realize that there's an opportunity to support people in understanding what codependent themes, we call it. We don't actually label it as codependency, because we really feel it's important not to place that type of label on yourself. And so we get our clients to look at the themes in their life, like isolation and loss of identity, the past emotional wounds that come up, and take them out. And we get them to identify with how they affect their life and their relationships, and support them in moving beyond them. It's a repatterning process.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what is codependency in your definition? So you mentioned codependent themes, but in codependency, because it's a word that is used often, but not everybody really has access to understanding what that word really means and how that might show up in our relationships. So what is your definition? How do you identify codependent patterns or codependency?
Yeah, that's great. The origin of the word is actually in the 80s. It was described as someone who got involved with a person of an addictive nature in relationship, and caretaking and isolating and loss of identity ensues. People pleasing. The list is endless of the themes in which that type of relationship brings up. And as we moved on through the decades, we started to understand that it wasn't always that it was one person attracted to someone of an addictive nature, but the truth is the two people were co-creating the energy. And if you unzip an alcoholic, you'll find a codependent, basically. So, we started to look at it in the psychology profession from the perspective of that really there are two people involved creating this energy dynamic. And it isn't always with, you'll often hear that the relationship is a codependent and an addict, or a codependent and a narcissist, perhaps. That is something that people will often read or hear about. But the truth of it is, you can actually be operating in a relationship that could otherwise be extremely successful, full of love and connection, but because you're in these patterns, these codependent themes or patterns, it feels like prison.
Yeah.
And when we started to realize that and recognize that in the last 10 years, this is where I think it's becoming more possible for people to really, truly thrive in relationships that they thought potentially were impossible.
Yeah. A lot of what you're describing, it's attachment traumas, right? So, and in human developmental trauma, the attunement trauma. And so when our needs aren't met, all this, when our needs aren't met sufficiently, we develop these coping habits and these coping patterns. So a lot of what you're describing as far as codependency of like the caregiver and the caretaker and these like kind of unhealthy toxic loops are usually a result of some kind of attachment trauma or wounding, which we all carry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
That's right, from childhood.
Yeah.
And it's really, really interesting with our clients to just see that they're just attracting the same type of partner as one of their parents, for instance.
Exactly.
And
like
it's dad.
Yeah. And that sounds so trite, right? When we say it, like the first time I heard that, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But it's so true. Like we are always in relationship with our parents until we are able to transform that pattern. But
fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah. And what we're learning is that it's actually not just the in the relationship with the parent, but the reason that we choose the partners we do is because we're actually subconsciously mimicking the actions or behaviors of said parent as a tool for impression, to impress the parent. Like we don't know we're doing this. We're not cognitively choosing this. The body is like, oh, that would be something that mom would approve of, right? Because when we talk about, adults and their relationships to their parents as children, we frequently see that, the approval of a parent is generally the thing that goes missing the most, no matter how fantastic the upbringing was. Most people suffer from this approval piece. Yeah. And so, as you say, we seek out this approval method in relationship, and causes a lot of struggle.
Well, and approval equals love, right? And acceptance, which is a core human need, right? We'll do anything for love. It's like food, it's air, it's the air that we breathe as human beings is love. So yeah. So what are some other like past emotional wounds and traumas that we may experience that are going to later affect our relationships as adults?
That's a great question. And following on from this thread, it's being unable to receive.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's so huge. That's so huge.
Massive.
Because within these themes and this constant search for answers and validation and recognition and acknowledgement and love lies deeply beneath this almost impossibility to receive. So they give themselves away over and over again until their cup is completely empty, and then they burn out, and there's a lot of overwhelm in the field and a lot of dis-ease as well in the body. So a lot of illness or mental health issues can creep in as well, and that's that's something that we've experienced as well in previous relationships.
So
we know them to be these intergenerational traumas, in answer to your question, right? Like they're things that are carried on from generation to generation. My mother, it was done to my mother did it to me, and then I do it to my kids, and it's these types of traumas, and the full spectrum of trauma, everything from emotional abuse, sexual abuse. Just an absentee parent can be a very traumatic experience for a child, even if the parent was down the road and loved them very much. There's all ways in which we relate to our past experiences and create a set of beliefs around them, right? And from those beliefs, we have an emotional response, and we carry that into our adult relationships. And we just play them out, Davey. We just play them out like a game of tennis. We're like, here you go. Here's my shit. Bat it in your direction, and then you bat it back to me. And we just go on and on until we decide to break the loop. And as you know, it's all about the body and the somatic release and the experience of releasing it from the body.
And I have a question in regards to that. So I have so many questions that are coming to mind, but one of them that I wanted to kind of trace back to this, because that landed in my body, that like that inability to receive. So in your work that you've seen, is there a disparity or a difference that's gender-based? Because we receive different conditioning based on our gender, which is usually related to our genital anatomy in mainstream society, right? So we have different conditioning that can give us different blocks or different traumas or different, ways of moving in the world. So in your work, have you seen that, like, for instance, cisgender men have different issues around receiving and allowing in love and connection and all that, versus cisgendered women having a different obstacles to receiving?
Do you want to answer around cisgender men?
The sense I'm getting is it's a common theme. The men are really finding it difficult because there's always this chastising whip in the background. You're just not good enough, and that is always there. So it's very hard for them to receive praise, and I know as a man and growing up with my mum, who was always full of praise for me. And I even created this little voice in my head that was like, you're just saying that because you're my mum.
Interesting. And so even when you were receiving appreciation, you created a story that you weren't worthy of it.
Yeah. So.
Now, if that's not intergenerational, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Like if we're not passing this down and down and down and down till it gets to here, then I mean, it's so clear that it's time to shift that karma. Really, really, truly is.
And what would you say from the women's point of view?
My experience with my clients around receiving is that it's not safe.
Yeah.
And so we do a lot of work on, safety in the body. Right. And once you're safe in your body, then of course you're free to receive. And it largely has not very much to do, in my experience, with heteronormative masculine feminine. My feeling is that receiving is not it's not a conditioned, the woman receives and the man is the giver. I don't have that experience. My experience is that receiving is about safety, and male or female, however you identify, feeling safe is the gateway to receptivity.
Yeah, I mean, for all humanity, what comes to mind for me and in my work, I see is there's so much shame around receiving, regardless of the genital anatomy or the gender identification. So it just shows up differently. Like, so for women, there's shame about like, oh, well, I can't take pleasure for myself because I have to be giving to everybody else. And how dare I, receive the fullness of my pleasure? And there's so much shame and guilt in that. And for men, it's like the shame in softening and opening and allowing, or even needing to receive, right? So just like shame is prevalent in the experience of humanity when it comes to receiving love. So much shame and so much feelings of unworthiness. And I love what you said about feeling safe in the body. So in your work and your experience, what are some of the obstacles and challenges we face in feeling safe in the body?
The biggest challenge, Devi, is the coping mechanisms that come up for people. Literally, when we create these beliefs from our early childhood around, let's say, a traumatic experience, when we create a belief around that, we also create a partner to that belief called a coping mechanism. And we utilize that coping mechanism so much that it just runs without us even knowing we're using it. And frequently it talks us out of healing and health and well-being. And it keeps us in the place of stagnancy and energetic collapse.
Because it's survival, right?
It's survival. It's survival. And so, we walk around surviving for so long that when the opportunity to thrive comes along, it's less attractive than you would think. So the biggest challenge is actually convincing people that, no, it's okay. Thrival is good. You will like it.
It's kind of like, when we're holding on so hard, right? To let go is painful. It's like, ow, that hurts. And I don't want to feel pain.
Yeah,
oh God.
That's so true.
The thing is, the pain and this suffering has become the norm.
Yes.
That's been present for so long, so many decades, that to just say, hey, there's something different and it's just on the other side of this door. Here's the key. And they're like, yes, but, and it's easier to go back to the pain and the suffering than it is to step through that door into the unknown of a amazing life.
Isn't there a saying, it's like the pain we know is safer or more comfortable than the pain of the unknown, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, because,
better the devil you know.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Stepping through the gateway or the portal into something new and different is definitely going to be uncomfortable. And it will be the kind of uncomfortable that, has an end compared to suffering. So it has an end, and the precipice of change and beauty lives there.
Yeah.
So, it lights us up.
Yeah. Well, transformation, and something that comes to mind as you're talking about this is in Tibetan healing, working with the energy body. So when there's a block in the energy body, there's stagnation and a loss of vitality, a loss of life force. And when that block is removed and the energy starts to flow again, it can be really painful. But that pain is embraced as a sign or a symptom of life force returning. So there's the difference of the pain of growth and healing, like even physiologically, like if I cut my finger or my hand, as the skin, as the tissue knits itself back together, it hurts and it itches and it's irritating. And we have all those growing pains, right? Of new growth. And so, yes, there's a difference between that kind of pain, the growing pains, the healing pains, versus the just tolerating and getting by, and that's like a deadening of our consciousness.
Yeah, it's a deadening. It's completely different. That's the choice to suffer. It's a very distinct difference, right? And the pain that leads you to transformation is that exactly as you suggest. It's an opening. It's an allowing. It's a defrosting, a thawing.
And so what are some of the things that you've seen in your work that can help somebody make that leap, right? Because it takes so much courage, as we all know. It takes so much courage to be willing to move through, to go from numbness and freeze, and to be willing to feel the pain of the thaw. So what are some things that you've seen in your work like that help people make that choice?
That's a great question. It's a great question. And in our sessions, we really have to take people to the brink of that pain. In that initial session, we have to get them to feel the consequences of carrying on life in this way.
Yeah, the devastation.
And until they actually feel it, Devi, they're not going to be able to heal it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like the mantra of life, right? You have to feel it to heal it. But like directing the attention exactly there to examine it fully and to really feel the agony of that.
Oh yeah, and it can take us hours on some of these breakthrough sessions to get people through the numbness, through the coping mechanisms, before they can actually even drop into any feeling at all, because they're so used to sweeping it under the carpet, or hiding it with addictions, whatever they may be, and those very, very clever and cunning coping mechanisms. So we have to get beneath the coping mechanism to crack them open, and once we crack them open, then they feel, and they release some tears, and that's the first step. It's the first step, just feeling.
And I love what you just described there, because it is insurmountably terrifying to imagine trying to do this on your own. So the necessity of having a guide, of having someone who's walked the path, like literally can hold your hand through the dark night of the soul, so to speak, and guide you to the other side, like that is absolutely required. And in trauma healing, it's like it takes a community to heal. Healing trauma isn't something we do only, you know, in this isolated vacuum. It's, yes, we work with ourselves, but we need, it's required, support is required. Right.
Yeah.
So I love how you describe like the caretaking process of walking someone through that journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's so vital, Devi, because, you know, everyone's trying to do it on their own. And that sucks. It really, really sucks. It's so goddamn lonely. It's like being in this prison of isolation, and it's dark in there, you know? So when you get some help and some guidance and some support and love and encouragement to just bring all that stuff out of the dark into the light, it's not so bad after all.
It's not so bad.
Yeah. And I just want to like hone that point a little bit just for our listeners, because we do receive the message so often that like healing is something, it's a solo journey. And that's true to an extent. But as we were saying, like the necessity and the requirement for support is, it's a necessity. And what you're describing, that like being isolated, like that's part of the problem. I think that isolation is one of our coping mechanisms. I can't get love anywhere. I've decided that love doesn't exist for me out there. So I'm just going to work on self-love or not, or I'm just going to ignore the agony of not having love. But that isolation and that thinking that we have to do it all on our own, that is the wound.
That is the wound. That is the wound. Our mission statement is to liberate humanity from isolation to belonging. That's what we're up to in the world.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. I love that.
Thanks. We do.
Yeah.
And you know, truthfully, what we hear frequently from women is, you know, that, you know, I've been told that I have to be the perfect self-love or love myself completely, and then I will find this partner, and it causes a great deal of anxiety, because again, it's just like, when will I be perfect enough? When will I love myself enough to find that man? You know, and it's devastating to hear that, because that love is not perfection. You know, love is messy and pure and sometimes uncomfortable and willing. Love is willing. And part of the process of getting to love yourself more is having the ability to really just be with all that is who you are right now, without altering a thing.
Yeah. Unconditional acceptance.
Unconditional acceptance.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no more fixing and changing. We're just going to witness it all. We're just going to look at it all. We're going to say, I see you, I love you, I get you. And from there, opportunity arrives.
Yeah. Wow. So deep. So let's talk about a little bit about why like self-help and quick fixes don't work. That's one of the things that like, it's an interesting marketing ploy, but it bothers the shit out of me. The like 3 quick tips to how to like transform your life, or seven tips to love yourself completely. I'm like, dude, like I have like generational trauma from 400 fucking years. There aren't 7 tips that are going to help me love myself completely, right? You know, like it's not the superficial surface level. Oh, I feel great. Like healing is a cellular. We're talking about a cellular transformation, a complete rewiring of our neural pathways, a complete rewiring of the way our nervous system responds and perceives information. That doesn't happen with quick tips. But what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my God, we couldn't agree more. Honestly, here's another elastoplast on that gaping wound with the blood gushing out and your guts hanging out. Here's another little Band-Aid. If you stick 100 or 1,000 of them on, then maybe your guts won't fall out on the floor.
We have to be honest. In the beginning of this journey 2 years ago, we were handing out Band-Aids. We really were. We were like, here we go. Here's an intimacy tool. Try this. This will make your relationship better. Okay, you don't know how you don't know how to connect sexually. Do this practice. Like, and we woke up one day and we were like, what the fuck? This is not it. You know, and in exactly as you share, I mean, you summarize it so well. Like it's just not going to support someone who's really, you know, got the deep work to be done. Maybe for a while, maybe it will for a moment, but the longevity of that is, there's no stamina. So
it's a coping mechanism.
It's a coping mechanism.
Here's
you. Another elastoplast. Oh, that'll keep me going for another couple of days until I get the next elastoplast.
Yeah.
Another free ebook or something.
Yeah.
But the truth is, Devi, people are not invested in their own transformation, which means they're not valuing themselves. Oh, here's something else for free. Instead of saying, you know what, I am 1,000% committed to breaking this pattern for good so I can live my best life now. And because of that, I am willing to invest in myself. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is, because you know what? I matter.
Wow. I mean, again, as we were talking about before, the courage that it takes to do that, particularly with all the cultural conditioning around shame, but also it's like a self-awareness to do that, but also it's like I think our pain, we have to get to the point where our pain is so acute that we can no longer live with it.
Yeah.
Right. I know, like, that's what it took for me. It's like, okay, I'm going to die. This is not like 7 tips. This is like, I'm in the bathroom with a fucking razor blade. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So how do I not die? I don't care about having a great life. How do I just not die?
Not die. That was all I wanted too. I completely identify with that. People would say to me, "Oh, don't you want to be happy, joyous, and free?" And I was like, "I would just like to not die."
And I reached that point too. I was sitting on the couch one day and I realized why people take their own lives. I'm like, oh my God, I just want this hell to end.
Yes.
But the truth is, why get to that moment? Why wait till you get to that moment? There's incredible guides out there who can really support you through this.
You brought up something really powerful, Devi, and that was that self-help being sort of a thing now. It's a brand now, and self-help is something that people will turn to. And again, it does have the Band-Aid effect in many ways, largely because it's short-lived. And people tend to dip into self-help and then pop back out, and dip in and pop back out, and without any long-lasting effects. And what we really understand is that people will invest money into their finances. They'll get a business coach. They'll get a personal trainer. They'll get a nanny. What else? What else do they invest money in? They'll buy some stocks. They'll invest in a new wardrobe. But when it comes to investing time and money into the long-term personal growth effects of your life, and removing some of the patterns that are causing your overall whole life, right? Overall whole life to be, imploding. It's weird. People are like, yeah, I don't know. I have to work on Monday, and I'm just going to read this book. It's a really big transition to get them into making the big choice, the powerful choice to change it dramatically now.
Yeah. How much time will it take? Yeah, I'm pretty busy. How much time will it take? is another question.
Another coping mechanism.
Yeah, to talk themselves out of a life-changing transformation. So self-help can very easily become shelf-help, because there's so many programs that people are buying. They're just buying them, and they're not even studying them. They've bought so many they don't even they don't even know what programs they've got in their inbox.
And so why do you think that is? I mean, aside from coping mechanisms set up in our life, like, why is it, easier to just put a Band-Aid on it or take a pill, as opposed to go through the real work of completely transforming your DNA?
Yeah, DNA repatterning. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so, I mean, and my thought on this is because the Western culture is very quick fix. It's like, oh, are you feeling depressed? Take a pill. Oh, are you, whatever, then take a pill. There's no allopathic medicine in the Western culture. There's no look at underlying causes, right? So Gabor Mate says that, like, all chronic illness, the root cause is trauma. Period. That's it, all chronic illness. And yet, for most chronic illnesses, they're like, here, have a pill, or oh, have surgery, or oh, whatever, without actually examining the root cause, the underlying cause. So that's my view on it, is it's, you know, it's really part of our cultural conditioning to try to find the quick fix and skate around the surface, because our entire society is based on that. But what are your thoughts on it? I guess I have a question on why people have such a propensity to just do the self-help or the shelf help as opposed to the real work of transformation.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's the drive-through experience. You know, it's quick. It's you know, I can do it in my spare time. It's I think the challenge right now is the integrity to oneself, right? I think people not having as much integrity or sense of personal responsibility in their life. There tends to be, and this is a generalization, of course, but there tends to be a looking outwards to society to be responsible for our actions, to be responsible for our experiences. And so, you know, we get to a place where, yeah, we've got to take a look at ourselves. I'd way rather do the drive-through experience and whatever that is, than actually take a look at myself and my part in this lifetime.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's a lot of seeking going on. There's a lot of seekers looking outward instead of inward. And I think what I feel strongly about, Devi, on the answer to this question is it all comes back to self-worth.
Yes, it does. You're right.
You know, there's a severe lack of self-worth in humanity. And therefore, you know, something that's quick and cheap and doesn't cost so much, yeah, I'll just have a little nibble at that. But when someone actually invests, for example, a few $1,000s in their transformation, especially if that's a lot of money for them, and they maybe have to borrow to get that money, they have just raised the bar considerably, you know, from here to here in their self-worth. They say, yes, I am worth it. And you know what? I'm 1,000% committed to making sure I get that transformation. So guess what? They do get that transformation. And that can happen as quick as 90 days instead of 20 years of therapy, which is unfortunately what most of our clients come to us after 5 to 20 years of therapy.
Which costs like way more than a couple $1,000s.
Way more.
You know, I mean, the cost. But also, like, just
years.
Yeah, and years. But also what came to me when you said that is to like the potency of making that declaration, like, I am worth this and I am worth this investment. The type of relationship, just making that one choice to invest in our personal growth, like just that choice to invest in our self-worth is going to change the vibration or the energy of the kind of shit you're going to put up with or not in your life.
Instantly. Absolutely instantly. You're exactly right, Devi, because they're scared. They're in fear, and yet if they allow us to coach them through that fear and they commit to it anyway, you know, that is massive. That is massive. Their transformation started right there. They raised the bar considerably, and they said no to fear.
And yes to life.
And yes to life.
Yes to life.
Yeah. Every no is a yes to something else.
Yeah. I love that.
So let's talk about radical truth. What does that mean? Radical truth in love, radical truth in personal growth, radical truth in healing.
That was my favorite topic.
All right then. Hey.
the book. But yeah, it's really being as authentic and radical and courageous as you possibly can be. It's just putting all your cards on the table and just saying, this is me, you know, this is who I am. It's almost pulling your heart out your chest while it's still pumping and going, you know, this is it. This is me. This is my vulnerable me and my courageous and bold me too.
And what did it take for you to be able to get to the point where you were willing to do that? Because as you're describing that, I'm like, that's terrifying for some people. Like for those of us who have walked through hell repeatedly in our lives, we're like, fuck it. Like, here it is, ugly, and you're just gonna have to like it, or not, right? But what did it take for? What did you guys have to go through to get to the point where you were willing to be that exposed and that vulnerable?
Well, I mean, the truth is, you know, we don't teach radical truth in a way that without, you know, some very deep principles to it. You know, it needs to be done in a compassionate, kind way. And there is, you know, there is a way in which you can deliver something to someone you love about whom you are that feels like an offering and not so much like a taking. And when people hear the word radical truth, it can be like, oh, that can be scary, you know. But really, it's just about speaking from your heart and sharing what is alive for you in that moment. You know, we actually have a practice we call What's Alive, Lover, and it is just that. It's, this is what I'm experiencing right now, or this is where I'm at with my life right now, and what I need for my life right now, or you know, I'm feeling this way, you know, lots of I statements. So it's the art. It's the art of being yourself in a kind and compassionate way.
And a courageous way, you know, and when it found me, I was just coming out a 3-year relationship where I hadn't been seen and acknowledged, and I'd really sort of, I'd fallen into that trap of losing myself and just giving everything and emptying my cup. And I came out of that relationship, and I realized that I hadn't been authentic on a regular basis. And then I was getting told to do these really crazy things. You know, suddenly my body just woke up, and I'd have these ideas. I was doing a lot of Joe Dispenza meditations at the time, so I was connecting to the divine and the quantum field, and then these downloads would come in, and I'd be like, "You what? You want me to do what? Really?" Okay. And I could feel it in my stomach, like my stomach would be in complete and utter knots, and I'd just be like, "Oh my God, this feels awful. That's why I have to do it." So the body can give you that signal of what your radical truth is, and sometimes it's like a knot in your stomach or a contraction in your throat, and that's a signal that there's some radical truth needing to come out, and that can come out, as Georgia says, in a compassionate way as opposed to a screw you sort of way.
And that's how the Edge Co-Creative was born. You know, we stood at the edge and we were like, oh, you know, we can look into truth and the new truth, or we can peer back to what was, and you know, we chose truth, and that's how we continue to live our life.
So I love two things, lots of things, but the two things that I'm pointing out or picking out right now are how you, Silver, were talking about the messages of the body. And again, how we have to go through a relearning of how to listen and honor those messages, because particularly for those of us who carry trauma, like the whole function of trauma is to disassociate us from our body and the messages, and being able to like honor them and even interpret them. So there's that. And then I forgot the other thing. But it was in relationship to something you were sharing, Georgia. I apologize for that. Hopefully it will come back to me.
Actually, yeah, I'm sure it will.
Yeah. So the name of your business is The Edge, the Co-Creative Edge. Is that what it is?
The Edge Co-Creative.
The Edge Co-Creative. So could you explain a little bit about what that word co-creative means to you? Because I think a lot of people have different interpretations of that. So what does that mean to you, co-creative?
Well, as Georgia was alluding to earlier on in the show, you know, I was really not about relationship at all when we met, and what we called it in that time was co-creationship. And that was because we realized we were co-creating every single moment together. good and bad. And when we gained that awareness, it was truly, truly magical. And that led to Georgia coming up with the word co-creative.
Yeah, it's exactly what Silver says, and co-creation is something that you do together on all levels. It is an art. It is an art, and it's the art of moving through the challenging, darker times and co-creating those, also recognizing that you co-create them. It really removes the blame in relationship or co-creationship. And and then also what you're creating in the world together, which is the legacy piece that we're so passionate about in Love Life Legacy, which is the work that we do. But I do want to backtrack a tiny bit into your question around the energy in the body. You were asking about the energies in the body and where you feel them and where they come through. Is that what you were asking?
I was referring to, because Silver was talking about how how the message or the communicating with authenticity, radical honesty, that he'll feel it sometimes like a knot in the pit of his stomach, right? And that's a message that the body is sending you, that there's something to express here. And then how we're taught to disassociate from the body, period. But then also the way trauma functions is to disconnect us from our ability to be present in the body, and then also to perceive the messages, and then also to trust them, right? So we may see them, but then should I actually pay attention to this? Is this real?
So a great example of that is that clients will come to us and say, I need some help to communicate with my partner. Can you tell me how to communicate? I need to learn how to better communicate. And so rather than telling them how to communicate, we'll ask them to share their experience of what they cannot communicate with their partner.
What happens in your body?
What's happening in your body in that moment? What's happening in where are you feeling it? Are your hands shaking? Is it heavy in your heart? Is it in your throat? Are you having a hard time making words? So to connect to the experience rather than trying to find out a way to better navigate it in a different way, like what's happening, what's actually happening, right? Which is Tantra, as you know, it's the undulation of intention. It's the moving intention. So that's the magic in the body.
And when you can allow yourself to feel that, it's like it can feel like a contraction.
Mm-hmm.
However, in that moment, when you allow yourself to feel it, you can choose whether it's going to keep contracting or whether it's going to expand, whether it's going to expand you. And when you can go there and choose expansion instead of contraction, oh my God, liberation, freedom.
Exactly. And there's so much potency in the energy of that contraction that when it's liberated, we reclaim that life force, right?
Yes.
It reminds me of a Tibetan practice called feeding your demons, which is really paying attention to when we've got an issue, where is it living in the body? And then giving it texture, or allowing its texture and its shape and its color and basically its message to be revealed through placing our awareness and our full attention on that sensation in the body, and really embracing that as a message, as a vehicle for transformation. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I remembered what the thing that I wanted to tap on in regards to what you were saying, Georgia, is I love the piece about a radical truth being delivered with loving kindness and compassion. Because very often in some of the shock therapy or the, pushing your boundaries, the edge kind of thing, the compassion piece is missing, or it's lost in the shuffle. And so I really love that you emphasize that part, that radical truth doesn't have to equal cruelty, that radical truth can be delivered with loving kindness and compassion. Yeah.
Absolutely. Full stop. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. So please, would you be willing to share with us about your programs? You gave us you made me very curious. Some things you were talking about, I want to know more about that. So if you'd be willing to share a bit about your programs and your offerings and all of the amazing work that you do in the world as the Edge Co-Creative.
Of course, we'd be delighted. Thank you, Devi. We've got a 12-week program called Love, Life, Legacy. And that is because it's all connected. And it's really, really important for the listeners to understand that. You know, if your love life is suffering, then it affects your life and it affects the way you show up in the world. You know, and your relationships are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, investment you make in your life, energetically, financially, and time-wise. They are the biggest investment that you make in your life. So, you know, we love taking people through this 90-day program that it basically brings people back home. It brings people back home to their heart. And we're truly, truly blessed with individuals who've joined us through this very difficult period for humanity in the world. And they've treated this as a gift to themselves, because this is the first time in years, if not decades, that they've actually been able to pause. And they've taken this opportunity to do the work on themselves, to come back home into their beautiful hearts.
Sacred pause.
Yeah. So the program is we divide it into 3 parts. It's about, first of all, it's the integration of awareness of what's happened in your life. And then there's an element of personal responsibility, a very large element, actually. And from personal responsibility, integrity is born. And from integrity, we start to repattern using ELI, which is our method, embodied learned intimacy, that helps to support the body in repatterning using movement, sound, and breath. And we build this all in layers throughout the course of the 90 days so that there is, you know, both cognitive, you know, action work, and then there is the somatic system is involved in repatterning. And it's amazing to watch people in that connection and come out the other side. So yeah, it's beautiful work.
Yeah, just to watch them cracking open. You know, they've got these tough exterior shells and coping mechanisms, and then suddenly they start to crack open, and the authenticity and the presence and the vulnerability comes out, and the happiness comes out. They say money can't buy you happiness, but we have to disagree.
Yeah, the joy. Yeah.
If you invest it wisely, it can.
And I love what you said about relationships being so important. Our Buddhist Lama says that relationships are one of the clearest indicators of your health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. And if all of the relationships in our life are dysfunctional, it means that there's a wound there. There's something to heal and transform. And so my Lama's known me for 12 years in this lifetime. Who knows how many others? But he's watched as I've healed using the methods that we use. He's watched through the years, and what he's remarked upon is the health, the consistent improved health of all of the relationships that I have in my life, and that is a clear marker that my practice is working. So what you're saying so resonates with me is exactly if our most intimate relationship is a place of suffering, then life is suffering. Right? It really is. It's really the foundation.
Yeah. And ultimately our clients come to us hoping to attract a soul-powered partnership, you know, a teammate in love, life, and legacy. This is what they're up to. And, you know, they don't know what we're going to put them through to get them there. But ultimately, you know, yeah, we still want soul-powered partnerships more than money, power, and prestige. It's more important to us as a race, as beings. Connection is ultimately the driving force.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree 100%. We only have 2 minutes left, and so I want to make sure that everybody gets your info so they can find you everywhere. So please share with us all of your website links, and then you're also going to be sending links to me, and we're going to put it under all of our videos and all of our blogs and all of that, so it goes out to the entire universe. So what is your website, and what are some of the offerings you have to share?
Well, your team will be sharing a very, very special link to a free training that Georgia has done for heart-centered entrepreneurs and professionals to bring you into full alignment with yourself and others. So you've got to check that out in the links below. And you can also go to fullyaligned love. That's fully aligned, all one word, .love, and you'll find lots of our great goodies there.
Mm-hmm. There's a link directly to book a call with us and have a chat about the program to see if it's the right fit. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Oh, beautiful. So fullyaligned.love. What an incredible URL. That was quite genius. And then, yes. And then for everybody listening to the replay of this podcast, there will be a link under the YouTube video and on our blog page for George's free offering, which just sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a great training. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having us on the show and sharing your beautiful energy as always.
Oh, thank you.
Glowing radiant light, Devi.
Oh, thank you so much. So are you. I've so enjoyed this conversation. There's so much resonance, and I look forward to having more. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in every Thursday for another episode of Sex is Medicine. And just know that we so appreciate you listening. We so appreciate you watching. And I love your comments. So keep them coming. Keep sharing about how these episodes and how this medicine is being activated in your life. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you next week.